Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So this video is going to be about confidence. There's so much that I can talk about when it comes to confidence, when it comes to presenting yourself with confidence, when it comes to making yourself feel confident. So this could be a series, but maybe I'll start off with how to exude confidence, not in a loud way, even in a quiet manner. I think this is something that a lot of people desire for, especially in the workplace, even in their personal life, because at the end of the day, if you don't feel confident in yourself, or you don't feel confident about what you're saying, how you're showing up, you cannot do a lot of things. So the truth about confidence is that it's not personality. It's really nothing to do with personality. I know my channel, there is a dominant side on the MBTI personality, but I realized that no matter what personality you are, confidence can be created. Confidence can be built, and it's not just, oh, because you're an extrovert, you are confident. The truth about confidence is it's not about personality, but it's about preparation and perception. Preparation and perception is what helps you to acquire or to create or to feel confident. So I know that I'm an introvert since the day I was born. Jokes aside, I know that since I was very young, I've always had social anxiety or issues socializing because of how I was brought up in my childhood. I'm not blaming my parents for it. Actually, I'm very grateful on the way things turn out for me, because there's no point about being resentful about your past. Your past happened because life happened for you. It's not happening to you. So everything that has happened to us is there for us to uncover what the wisdom is. And so now I want to reflect back to my childhood, right? It's during kindergarten, preschool, and primary school. I know that especially during kindergarten, I was just someone that I didn't like the crowd. I love being alone, just playing with my toys, listening to music, and just really being by myself. So when I had to go to kindergarten and even primary school, I felt like my parents were throwing me into a forest full of dangerous creatures, like that's how it felt like for me. And so I don't have a lot of friends. I don't even remember any of them, maybe just one or two names particularly when I was in primary school and kindergarten. And it's just, there are some scenes, there are some situation there that has probably shaped the way I am. My nature and my nurture is that I'm just not comfortable talking to strangers. And even though I find them interesting, I still don't know what to say. So basically, I'm a triple introvert. I also find it difficult to express the things that I want to say because I think a lot. I like to imagine a lot of things. I have a lot of ideas. I remember when I was really young, because I watched a lot of TV shows on how people became very innovative with coming up with new products, new invention. I've always wanted to be that person that like, wow, like you came up with this thing and nobody thought of it. So I've always been fantasizing and idealizing and daydreaming most of the time. When people ask me to share about what I feel, share about my thoughts, or like say something, I just couldn't link what is going in my head to what I'm going to say. And often when I try to say something, it just doesn't come out with how I envision it to be in my head. So it's always been this loop, right, where I'm just never confident with how I sound, what I say, and how people perceive me. I was very, very conscious of that. And I think because of this introversion that I have, that is so strong, and isolation, I started becoming very fascinated with drawing, right? So I became very inclined, like, wow, you can do something so amazing with just strokes from your hand. Like, how did a person create this drawing? Like, what they imagine, and then they can actually actualize it through the painting or through the drawing. So I grew up in an environment where there are quite a lot of creative people around me. And particularly one day I was back in our hometown during Chinese New Year. I saw that one of my cousin's sister, She probably went for some drawing class or some painting class, and then I saw it was a photo of a dragon, and it looked amazing, right? It's an illustration of a dragon, and I almost didn't believe that it was you actually draw it like that. Like, to me, that was like a way for me to communicate, because I'm not articulate. I don't know, I'm not confident with how I speak sometimes. And I even have moments in time where I felt like my voice is not attractive, because some ex-boyfriend from a donkey years ago saying that, ooh, you kind of sound ugly on the phone, you know, like, yeah, there are some things that you do not just forget, right? And I became very, very conscious of that. So I became very fascinated with drawing. And then it's just like part of my life that became this whole putting the dots together and then creating that pattern, right? Then I started drawing, I started copying what was in comic books. I was just like, how can I draw the references that I'm seeing? And with that determination, for some reason, I already learned all the fundamentals of drawing, you know, like the outlining, the shading. I just figured it out. Like, I could replicate most of the things, the drawings that I see, right? I didn't go for any formal drawing classes back then when I discovered that I could draw. And then, of course, I saw one of my aunt. She is a seamstress. She was a seamstress, and she has a book where it's filled with fashion illustration. And I was like, oh my God, this is what I want to do. I want to draw beautiful images of women in beautiful outfits. I didn't know what fashion design was. I just wanted to draw like that, basically. I basically don't have confidence in the way that I speak, how I present myself, because all I knew was my introversion, which is how I draw. That's where I feel confident. That's my flow. But anything that requires me to speak, it's just not my thing. My dad is an amazing salesperson, so he is very good at talking. And I've always subconsciously grew up and watched him on the side where he talks to his clients, he talks to my family, he talks to my relatives. The way he talks, he's always like selling some idea, talking about the religion, the faith, you know. He's always very good at, he's just very charismatic, right? It wasn't something that I was like, yeah, I'm going to be like that. If you guys know what my job is, if you don't already know, I actually take care of an academy for a global fashion brand, a learning and development department that does a lot of training, which means a lot of public speaking. So I've come a very, very long way from where I started, being super shy, reserved, and very conscious about myself. So why you should take this seriously is because coming from me, where I always felt like I'm never going to be listened to, whatever that I say I'm not confident with because I don't know how to articulate what's going on through my head, to where I'm at now, where I feel like one of my milestones in life, if I could go back time to my 15 years old and tell her that, hey, you're going to be conducting a style workshop in front of 100 people, did you know, for example, like things like that, or you'll be doing a very difficult presentation, convincing a bunch of management and C-suite. I think back then my 15-year-old self would be so terrified. Is that really going to happen to me in future? So my whole point of telling you this story or giving you this context is that I may not be an expert in teaching people how to articulate in a certain way. That I have learned from people like Vin. I watch a lot of podcasts. I am always very into YouTube, how people present themselves, because I've watched it enough. I wanted to try it for my own self. And honestly, if I didn't start my YouTube channel like the way it is now recording, I remember how it was like going live on Instagram. It was terrifying, but it was exhilarating at the same time. I just need to know some of the techniques in order to speak the way that I want in a confident way and influence people. So some of my key messages in this video would be, confidence is truly an output. It is a product that you need to project on the outside, that you need to create. It is not a trait. It's nothing to do with your personality. So I was the shyest person, and when people start seeing that I could record myself and be talking about a topic, even if it's in front of a lot of people or doing some videos, people who know me from the past, they were very shocked that I was able to do that. So I'm just sending a message, a hopeful message out there that anyone can do this if they put in enough practice and they master their mindset. So what is confidence, right? I've thought a lot about this. Confidence without competence is basically nothing, right? You're just showing an empty shell. There's nothing on the inside. You are showing some signals of competence. So what does that mean? There are certain words that you say, there are certain expression that you have, your body language, the things that you wear, it has to signal competence. So that's number one. The second thing that makes up confidence is your mental clarity. I know that I wasn't confident in articulating the thoughts in my head because it was all over the place. I did not know any framework structure. I did not have any guidance or mentoring from people that this is how you should structure your thoughts. Now you have ChatGPT, it makes it even easier to just ramble all you want to ChatGPT and get it to structure it for you. So when you don't have mental clarity, it's very hard for you to show that you're confident. So showing signals of competence, mental clarity, and finally, self-trust. I think the last one is where it hits the most for me. You can have the first two, but if you don't trust yourself, it will leak out in some sense. And that is when you will appear confident at the start and then you will start to be very insecure towards the end or in the middle, wouldn't be able to sustain the entire public speaking or presentation or whatever it is that you're trying to show confidence. It doesn't stick true because you don't have the foundation layer, which is self-trust. So I've learned that you don't just create confidence in the moment. It doesn't just happen. It's not spontaneous like that. A lot of people who appear very confident is because you have not seen what they have done behind doors in rehearsing, in prepping themselves, what are the mistakes they have made, what are the things they have gone through that has nurtured them into this, okay, now I know what is confidence. I know how to make myself feel confident. So this is something that you build before you enter the room, before you do that thing that you are supposed to feel and look confident. So to make this concept really practical, I have broken it down into 3 parts to appearing and feeling and speaking with confidence. So part 1 is dressing the part. I've showed many graphs before, and for people who attend my style workshop, I always talk about how your image speaks before you do. It is essentially walking by a store. When you look at the visual merchandising, it kind of tells you whether or not you want to enter the store. You judge the visual before the person could even speak. So dressing the part is absolutely important, and which is why I have a community called Stylified, which is why I have my side business helping people to look the part. There are people who does a lot of inner work, but some things just don't click on the outside because they're external, their exterior is not congruent to their internal. So why your outfit is the first impression before you speak is because of the concept called enclosed connection. Long story short, I've done in-depth video about enclosed connection, is that your brain performs differently when you dress like the version of you that is competent. Is it John Galinsky? I could have butchered his name, but basically when you YouTube or Google or ChatGPT enclosed connection, you will find this very famous study where they get 2 groups of people. One of them dressed in doctor's white lab coat, you know, the very surgical, clean lab coat, right? And then you have another group of people wearing just normal clothes, right? And they were supposed to do this test where there's a bunch of words in front of them, and the words are actually the words of colors, like different color names. But then the words itself doesn't match with the color of the word. So for example, it's black, but then instead of black being the color black, it's actually blue. So they were supposed to call out those that are actually congruent or the ones that is not congruent, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere along those lines. These 2 groups, when they're wearing different outfits, do they behave differently? So obviously, the group that was wearing the scientist lab coat, right, the white lab coat, they were more analytical, more precise, and they got most of it correct. They score the highest in terms of accuracy, them spotting out the words that has the right color tag to it. The other group that was wearing their clothes obviously didn't perform as well. And what made it even more interesting was then they made the group wear a painter's smock, which is basically what painters will wear on the outside. Apron looking, I think it's called a painter's smock. They thought that they would do differently in the test, but lo and behold, they actually did worse because painters, they are more carefree, they tend to be more relaxed, effortless, they are not analytical like the doctors or the lab coat, right? And so this is just trying to prove that what you wear shapes what you think about yourself and eventually how you behave and then how other people perceive you. It's that whole linkage. Your clothing shapes your posture, your presence and your authority. So if you're someone that is always in casual outfits and you are in relaxed clothing because you think it's a vibe, but sometimes you feel like people are not taking me seriously, or it's you need to put in extra effort or energy in order to put your point across. You could be dressed in a way that it's not making you look competent, it's not making you look confident. Even people who hide in a lot of black outfit, black is a little bit conflicting, you see. So there are two kinds. It's either when you wear black and then it matches your aesthetics, your features, right? And you, of course, go with the right silhouette, with the right accessories. The vibe that black can bring often is powerful, is bold, is dominating, even though it's a dark color. Most people would feel intimidated by people who wear black. So that is in a way a shortcut to looking confident. But because people think that black is there to solve all their fashion problem, which is very, very wrong, and which is why my job exists as a stylist, is that there are also black outfits that make you look super introverted, shy and mysterious to the point that you yourself convinced that you are supposed to be reserved and therefore you miss out in certain opportunities during meeting, you miss out in sounding confident because when you look at yourself in the mirror, again, enclosed connection, what you wear shapes how you feel. You might feel like, today I feel more reserved, I want to be more pared back, I'm not going to be so vocal. When being vocal is going to help you to get what you want. And then we have part 2. Priming your mind for confidence. I can go in depth about each of these parts. So let me know. Confidence is a mental state that is triggered intentionally. It's not by luck. This is some inner work that you need to do, and I used to be the person that focuses a lot on the physical. I use outfits to make myself feel empowered. And then in my 30s, I started realizing the power of the mind, the inner work, right? And when I start focusing on that, it just amplified the whole thing. So I didn't have to try so hard with the things that I wear because I am wiser and more strategic in how I want to show up in terms of my style. So one thing that you can do when it comes to priming yourself is identity priming. Who are you when you step into the room? It's kind of like visualization. You want to hit 10,000 steps daily, you want to earn this amount of money, you want to get a promotion in 6 months. Set a goal for yourself. When you're about to go for this presentation, when you're about to facilitate this meeting, who do you want to be in the room? What kind of vibe do you want to give off? So sometimes I like to play the role in my head, right? So today I'm going to give this topic. Do I want to sound like an expert? Do I want to sound more like a coach where I ask more questions? Expert will be giving a lot of evidences, a lot of story, a lot of studies. Or do I want to be a strategist, like talking about the future, giving a lot of research, giving a lot of hypothesis, giving a lot of possibilities. So I like to play the role, or sometimes even it's not something that's very serious. Like this situation requires me to be the host, to be the person that connects everyone, right? So then I wouldn't feel so conscious that, oh, but I'm not a host, I'm playing a role in that particular situation that makes it easier for me to project confidence. I think number 2, when it comes to priming your mind for confidence, if you don't have any self-care routine, you don't take care of your mindfulness, you don't do any body activation, breath work, you are missing out big time. This is probably one of the fundamentals in terms of projecting confidence. Confidence is it's not a I used to talk about this concept about the predator and prey, right? If you're the predator, it's like you are, think about a lion hunting, right? It's quiet, it's stoic, it's moving in such a way where nobody really knows what's going on, and it's pretty sturdy. You will see that the movement of a lion, it's, you are a little bit walking on eggshells around them because they are very aware, they're very alert, but not in a way where they're like anxious, versus a prey mindset when they are constantly touching their hair, shifting eye contact, they cannot maintain eye contact, they're constantly adjusting their outfit. Because they're very fidgety, you know that they are very, you know that they're not at ease. So this shows that they are insecure, even more far from confidence. So adopting some form of breathing exercises before something like that could really help in terms of your nervous system, because being very calm on the inside is really very much the spine to exuding confidence. Sometimes when I feel really, really nervous, which happens, I will always focus on my breath, really focusing on the now, not thinking about what's going to happen in the presentation, and I will distract myself saying that I'm grounded. I will say certain words of affirmation that works for me, that I will repeat it to myself in my head or whisper to myself, right? And that really soothes me. And then finally, as much as you can prime, you cannot prime yourself all the way to 100% success. So having emotional agility is very important at this part about confidence. It's because you need to tell yourself that you might make mistakes. And if you do make mistakes, it only shows that you are human. Even if you stutter or say the wrong word or you blank out, it's okay to just say, hey, you know what? I'm probably very excited or nervous right now. That's why I am kind of lost for words when what I'm about to say. So let's shift to another topic. Instead of just being totally like awkward and not saying anything and everybody knows that you're sweating, most of the time you'll be surprised. I heard this from a podcast that people who are watching you presenting, they are actually rooting for you to finish the presentation. Nobody likes to see people fail. We don't like to see when people are about to fail or when people are falling off a cliff. So most of the time when you're very insecure, people are actually cheering for you on the inside. So don't beat yourself up. So the last part is presenting the part. So first is dressing the part. Second is priming yourself for the part. And then the third is presenting the part. So this is where style, body language, the things that you say meets psychology. So when I say style, it doesn't limit to fashion. It could be the style of the way you talk, your narration style. Pace control is one signal of confidence. So when you speak with steadiness, slightly slow, I don't say slow all the way because it can be very boring to hear those people. That is a sign of authority, that's a sign of groundedness and competence. And when you speak fast, it can be energetic. When you speak too fast, it can show that you are actually nervous and anxious and you quickly want to get things over with. So remember, breathing the nervous system, right? Calming the nervous system, it happens throughout when you want to instill or you want to create confidence or feel confident. So tonality is one thing, right? And this is something that I learned from Vanessa Van Edwards. The Science of People. This is like a big aha moment for me. It is sometimes, I think this happens a lot to women. I see this happen mostly to women. There are some men who does this too, but a lot more. And it depends on what kind of city that it's. Sometimes when we are very nervous and we are anxious about our social environment, when we speak, and because it's fast, right, you kind of have this intonation where instead of making a statement in a grounded, confident way where the tone actually goes down, right? Where you say that, I'm confident that the sales will increase by 2025. See, 2025, it kind of goes down. So what I've learned is that upward tone that you have, I believe it's called flexion, where instead of saying, I'm confident that the sales will go up in 2025, it is, I'm confident that the sales will go up by 2025. So you're kind of like flexing up your tone, making you sound like you're doubting yourself. You're literally questioning yourself. So I think it's in Shark Tank where they discovered this, where those who pitch very well, and especially those that it didn't go so well, is because the moment, the first impression that's being formed, the moment that they start introducing themselves. So instead of saying, "Hi, my name is Michelle and I'm here asking for $1 million." It's the other way that's not confident with the flexion. "Hi, my name is Michelle." It's a question mark. Like, I don't even know my name. "Hi, my name is Michelle and I'm asking for $1 million." Like, you're not even sure of what you're asking for. So that is very common. A lot of people think that it's a very minor thing, but that flexion really does make people unconsciously think that you are not competent or not sure of yourself. And especially fillers. So this is something that I used to have issues with until today. I used to be the person that would, because I thought that filling up the silence is better than just being silent. Little did I know that it actually makes me look less confident. If you want to get rid of your fillers, it's to get good at writing. When you write, you are very careful with how you are reading what you're writing. And then because you want to have clarity in terms of what's going on in your head and what you are writing down, you will be a bit more careful with your sentencing, and you will have less of the AI to identify your fillers, so that you know at what point of time that when your filler would start coming out. When you are anxious, you tend to do more of the filler words for sure. So handling pressure moments, right? This is something that I learned from LinkedIn Learning. It's such a simple concept. I wish that I knew this earlier, but hey, it's never too late. So for those of you who are always caught off guard, who you don't want to be in a situation where somebody makes you speak in public, whether it's just 4 people in a room or 40 people or 400 people in a room, when you are just caught off guard and you don't know what to say, use the structure of what, so what now? What, so what now? So essentially this structure, it's to think about, okay, so what's happening now? What is going on in this meeting? So you could easily talk about explaining what is the meeting about, okay? So this is a style workshop. This is going to help you to build confidence with your outfit. You're going to learn about the colors. So it's like stating what the workshop is about, what the meeting is about, what the presentation is about. And sometimes you can even look at your slides. And then it's, so what? So why is this important? Naturally, when you tell yourself, okay, I've already described the what. So what is it they have to say next? So when you prime your mind with so what, naturally you will think about, so why is this important? So what are some important things that you need to know? So I think these two will kind of set you up to explaining the why from the what. So you can see that it becomes a much fuller picture. It becomes a better picture now, where you give the what and you give the why. So why is this important? So why you should take this seriously? So what are the important things about this? It's adding on, it's enhancing the what. And then finally, after you finish that part, you're running out of things to say, and then you end it off with, so what now? Now that you know the what, you know the why, so now just take a breather, have an open mind, and you can all interact with each other. What now is about letting the audience know what they have to do now, whether it's a mindset they need to have, whether it's whoever that is going to be speaking next that is going to take over. All in all, I hope that you enjoy these 3 parts. Let me know if you want a very detailed version of part 1, part 2, part 3. I will be happy to do a dedicated video on that, because again, there's so much more that I could share. Confidence is a feedback loop. So what do I mean? The more you dress the part, the more your brain aligns with who you want to be, and the more your body will support you. Again, it's the enclosed connection, and then the more you do it, and then when you ask for feedback, and then when you see what happens, the more and more you do it, the better it becomes. Repetition is the mother of mastery. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you find it useful. You can always do a one-to-one consultation with me, a coaching call where I can discuss what are some of your needs, your goals, your development, and that is according to your personality. What are some of your self-development areas? And we can even just have a chat on DM just to talk about how I can help you. Maybe you share more with me about your goals specifically. So guys, just one last sentence for you when it comes to confidence. Confidence is not who you are. It's who you decide to be on purpose. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. Please like, share. This small little gesture will help me. If you haven't subscribed already, I hope you do. I do post on a regular basis. If not weekly, at least 3 times a month. I don't just want to do videos on a weekly basis where it's kind of like here and there. I sometimes like to compile everything to one and give it to you in once every 2 weeks. Anyways guys, thank you so much for watching and supporting, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.